Hi, everybody. Reading from Transforming Suffering into Wisdom, Mindfulness, and the Art of Inner Listening. We're on the third intention, which is the intention to be fearless and forgiving in the midst of suffering. A very useful intention here in our time of crisis in the world. The chapter that I'm reading from is called The Bell of Awakening, and you see it has a marvelous illustration there as well, showing the kind of the reverberations of the bell of awakening. And this is really about suffering being the bell of awakening, that it's meant that our moments of suffering, that when we recognize those moments, we're meant to wake up and do something about it. And this is an extraordinary thing. What we often do is we notice that we're suffering and then we react to it in a way. We try to push it away, we try to fix it, without really having an intelligence as to what suffering actually is, so that we end up not finding our way to wisdom, but finding ourselves slogging through the day or repressing something that at some point is going to come back to bite us. So this chapter is about the bell of awakening. How do we recognize? And then what do we do? Recognize that suffering is, in fact, calling for us to accomplish something. So here it goes, the bell of awakening. For centuries, philosophers have asked, if there is a God, how can there be so much suffering? It seems an inevitable part of the biological world we live in that there is birth and death, and where there is death, infirmity, disease, and old age, not to mention adolescence, we expect there to be suffering. But whereas death is a fact of life, suffering is not. Suffering involves how we experience and take personally the fallibility of the world we live in and the bodies we occupy, the disappointments and the pains. Without the self hooking our uncomfortable feelings to our relentless thinking, there is no personal suffering. There are only feelings, and what we experience as pain becomes mere sensations. Suffering is here for a purpose. It is calling out to us. We have fallen from our path, lost our center. Suffering is the bell of awakening, calling us back to the three ways that end suffering: to living in the present moment, to pulling the plug on the self, and to being fearless and forgiving in the midst of suffering. Whenever you find yourself suffering, don't race to the refrigerator, the web, the telephone, or the mall. Take stock of yourself. Ask yourself, am I practicing the three intentions, or am I lost in confusion and struggle? Return to your practice. Bring a genuine end to suffering. Well, you can see how this is all about the bell of awakening. Pain is the suffering is the bell of awakening.